Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of my kitchen, the faint hum of the refrigerator filling the silence, and I'm staring at a half-empty coffee mug on the counter like it holds the answers to questions I haven't even dared to ask. My name's Rachel, and at 34, I've built a life that looks good on paper. I've got a husband, Thomas, who's been by my side for almost 10 years. We've carved out our little routines, the kind that stitch a marriage together even when the seams start to fray. There are dinners at our small kitchen table, plates clinking as we talk about our days, his long hours at the office, my latest project at home. There are movie nights on the couch, a worn-out blanket draped over us, though I can't remember the last time I actually paid attention to the screen. And then there are the quick hugs before bed, more of a reflex now than a real connection, a gesture that says good night without really meaning it. Our home is a modest 2-story place in the suburbs, the kind of house that feels like it should be full of warmth. Framed photos line the walls, us on our honeymoon, laughing at some beach I can barely recall, us at a friend's wedding, arms around each other like we'd never let go. But every room carries a weight, a quiet reminder of a spark that's long since dimmed. The living room where we used to dance to old records now just holds a couch and a TV. The bedroom, once a sanctuary, feels more like a place to escape each other's silence. I walk through these spaces every day, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm living in a museum of who we used to be. Inside, something's gone quiet over the years, like a radio that's lost its signal. Thomas's touch, which used to send a jolt through me, now feels like a formality, a hand on my shoulder that's there and gone before I can even process it. His voice, once a comfort I'd seek out after a rough day, has become background noise, something I hear but don't really listen to. I've buried this feeling deep, hidden it behind smiles during our conversations, forced laughter at his jokes even when my heart's not in it. I've pretended everything's fine, nodding along as we plan our weekends or discuss bills, all while this emptiness gnaws at me from the inside. I don't think he notices. Or maybe he does, and we're both just too scared to say it out loud. There are new faces in my world now, people I've only just crossed paths with, though I sense they're going to matter more than I can guess. There's Dean, a man with a rugged edge and a confidence that catches you off guard. Someone I met recently under circumstances I'm not ready to unpack just yet. And then there are 2 others, workers whose names I haven't caught, but whose presence lingers in my mind like a storm. Another morning dawns, and I'm pulled from sleep by the familiar scent of coffee drifting through the house. It's a smell that's become as much a part of my routine as the sound of my own breathing. I shuffle into the kitchen, my slippers scuffing against the hardwood floor, and there's Thomas, already seated at the table, his tablet propped up as he scrolls through the morning news. His brow is furrowed, lips pressed into a thin line, completely absorbed in whatever headline has caught his eye. I mumble a quiet "good morning" as I pour myself a cup, the steam curling up and warming my face. He glances up, offers a small nod and a half smile, then goes right back to his screen. It's the kind of exchange that's become our default, polite, efficient, devoid of any real warmth. I turn to the sink, loading the dishwasher with last night's dishes, the clink of ceramic against metal filling the silence between us. There's a rhythm to it, a mindless task that lets my thoughts wander, though they never stray far from the hollow ache I've been carrying. I ask him about his day, more out of habit than curiosity, and he mentions a string of meetings, his voice flat, like he's reading from a script. I nod. Tell him I've got a few errands to run. Maybe some work on a freelance design project I've been dragging my feet on. It's the kind of small talk that feels like we're just checking boxes, making sure we've acknowledged each other's existence before we go our separate ways. Then, as I'm wiping down the counter, Thomas clears his throat, his tone shifting to something a little more deliberate. He starts talking about this new hobby he's picked up, something about restoring old furniture or maybe building model sets. He's vague on the details, and I don't press him. He mentions he's rented a big hall downtown to use as a workspace, a place where he can spread out and tinker without cluttering up the garage. I raise an eyebrow, surprised he'd go to such lengths for a pastime, but I don't say anything. Then, almost as an afterthought, he asks if I'd mind helping out with some renovations there. He's swamped at work, he says, and could use someone to oversee things, make sure the space gets shaped up the way he wants. His voice is casual, like he's asking me to pick up groceries, not take on a project I know nothing about. I hesitate for a split second, a flicker of irritation sparking in my chest. This is so far outside my wheelhouse, so far from the routine I've clung to, but I swallow it down and agree with a shrug. Sure, I'll help. Why not? It's not like I've got anything better to do. That afternoon, I'm behind the wheel, driving toward the address Thomas texted me. The city streets roll by, a blur of gray concrete and flashing traffic lights outside my window. As I pull up to the hall downtown, the building looms larger than I expected, a cavernous old structure with peeling paint and windows clouded by years of neglect. I park the car, the engine ticking as it cools, and step out into the sharp bite of late afternoon air. Inside, the place smells of dust and stale wood, the kind of scent that clings to your clothes long after you've left. My footsteps echo on the cracked tile floor as I wander through the empty space, taking in the sheer size of it. It's a maze of half-finished walls and exposed beams, a skeleton of what it could be. And I can't help but wonder why Thomas picked somewhere so desolate for his little hobby. I'm not alone for long. Dean's already here, leaning against a sawhorse with a smirk that seems to know more than it lets on, his flannel shirt rolled up to reveal forearms dusted with sawdust. The other two workers are nearby, hauling paint cans and tools, their gruff voices bouncing off the walls as they call out measurements to each other. I've seen them before, briefly, when I first arrived, but their names still escape me. There's a roughness to them, a kind of raw energy that fills the room, and I feel it like static on my skin. Dean straightens up when he sees me, his eyes catching mine with a glint that makes my stomach twist in a way I'm not ready to name. He waves me over, casual as ever, and I cross the room, my sneakers scuffing against the gritty floor, trying to act like I belong here. We start with small talk, the kind that fills awkward silences. How the renovations are coming along, how many layers of paint it'll take to cover the stains on these walls. But then, something shifts. Dean steps closer, his voice dropping to a low, suggestive murmur that feels like it's meant just for me. The air between us thickens, and I can smell the faint tang of sweat and wood on him. He reaches out, his fingers brushing my elbow as he guides me away from the others, toward a quieter corner of the hall. "It'll be boring here without us," he says, his tone laced with something dangerous. "Want to take a break?" His hand lingers, sliding up to my shoulder in a touch that could be accidental but isn't. His gaze locks onto mine, intense and unyielding, pinning me in place like I'm caught in a trap I didn't see coming. My heart's racing now, a wild drumbeat in my chest, and every rational thought in my head is screaming at me to pull away, to step back, to remember who I am and who I'm married to. But my body doesn't listen. It's frozen, caught in a rush of something I haven't felt in years. Something electric, something alive. It's like a dam breaking. All that pent-up longing I've buried under years of routine spilling out in a single, reckless moment. Before I can find the words to stop this, Dean's fingers thread through my hair, gentle at first, then firmer, and something inside me snaps. I don't pull away. I can't. Instead, I lean into it, giving in to an impulse I didn't even know I had in me. It happens right there in the back room of the hall, a cramped, shadowy space cluttered with old tools and paint cans. The cold wall presses against my back, rough and unyielding, as Dean's hands find my waist, pulling me closer. There's a clatter as we stumble, knocking over a stack of cans, the metallic crash echoing in the small space, but neither of us stops. It's messy, urgent, a betrayal of everything I've built with Thomas, and yet I'm lost in it, drowning in the heat of it. His breath is hot against my neck, his whispers a blur of words I don't even try to make sense of. I'm not thinking about consequences, not thinking about tomorrow. I'm just feeling, for the first time in so long, like I'm awake. And it doesn't end with Dean. Later, caught in the same wild abandon, I find myself. My legs are trembling as I step out of that cramped back room, the echo of what just happened still buzzing under my skin. My breath comes in uneven gasps, shallow and sharp, like I've forgotten how to pull air into my lungs properly. I smooth my hair with shaky fingers, trying to erase any trace of the chaos I've just unleashed, as if straightening my appearance could somehow straighten out the mess I've made of my life. The hallway stretches out before me, dim and cavernous, the faint hum of distant voices from the workers barely reaching my ears over the pounding of my own pulse. I just need to get out of here, slip away unnoticed, and wrestle with this gnawing guilt in the privacy of my own head. I can't face anyone right now. Not after what I've done. My sneakers scuff against the gritty concrete floor as I move forward, each step feeling heavier than the last, like I'm dragging the weight of my betrayal behind me. But then I freeze. My heart stops dead in my chest, a cold sweat prickling at the back of my neck. There, at the far end of the hallway, stands Thomas. His familiar frame is silhouetted against the weak light filtering through the grimy windows, casting long shadows across the floor. He's just there, unmoving, like a statue carved out of the tension that's suddenly choking the air. I can't make out his face at first, not with the light behind him, but I can feel the weight of his gaze pinning me in place. My stomach twists into a knot, a sickening lurch that makes me want to turn and run, but my feet are rooted to the ground. As my eyes adjust, I see his expression, unreadable, a mask of stone. His jaw is tight, a muscle twitching faintly in his cheek, and his eyes are locked on me, sharp and unblinking, like they're boring straight through to the truth I'm desperate to hide. Then I notice it, his phone, clutched in his right hand, the screen glowing faintly, casting a pale blue light across his chin. My breath catches as I squint, realizing the camera app is open, the little red dot of a recording or a recent video staring back at me like an accusation. My mind spirals into panic. Has he seen everything? Did he record it? Or does he just know, somehow, without needing proof? The possibilities crash over me like waves, each one worse than the last. My knees feel like they might give out, the hallway tilting slightly as nausea claws at my insides. I've never felt so exposed, so utterly stripped bare, standing there under the weight of his silent stare. I brace myself for what I know is coming, shouting, insults, accusations that will cut deeper than any knife, maybe even violence. I wouldn't blame him. After what I've done, I deserve whatever storm he unleashes. But there's nothing. Just silence. A thick, suffocating silence that stretches between us, heavier with every passing second. It's worse than yelling, worse than any outburst. It's like the quiet before a bomb goes off, and I'm just waiting for the explosion. My mind is a whirlwind, racing through excuses, apologies, anything I can say to salvage even a scrap of what we had. But deep down, I know it's over, shattered beyond repair. I've broken us, and there's no putting the pieces back together, not after this. I can still feel the ghost of Dean's touch on my skin, the heat of those stolen moments burning through me like a brand, and the shame of it is almost too much to bear. How did I let myself fall this far? How did I betray the man standing in front of me? The man I promised to love for the rest of my life. I take a tentative step forward, the sound of my shoe scraping against the floor deafening in the stillness. My voice trembles, barely above a whisper, as I start to speak. Thomas, But before I can get another word out, he cuts me off, not with words, but with movement. Slow, deliberate. He starts walking toward me. Each step is measured, purposeful, the soles of his boots clicking softly against the concrete, a sound that seems to echo in the hollow space of the hall like a countdown to something inevitable. My heart is a frantic bird caged in my chest, beating against my ribs as he closes the distance between us. I'm still frozen, my breath shallow, waiting for the storm I'm sure is coming. But as he gets closer, I see something in his face that I didn't expect. It's not rage, not the raw, wounded anger I'd braced myself for. His eyes, though intense, hold something else, something I can't quite place. They're searching, almost curious, like he's seeing me for the first time. He stops just a foot away, so close I can smell the faint trace of his cologne mixed with the musty air of this old building. My skin prickles as he leans in, his face inches from mine, his breath warm against my cheek. A shiver runs down my spine, not from fear, but from the sheer weight of this moment, the uncertainty of what he's about to do or say. I expect harsh words, a condemnation that will shatter what little is left of me. But instead, his voice comes low, a whisper that feels like it's meant to burrow into my soul. I want more, he says, each word deliberate, hanging in the air like a dark promise. Next time, I'll bring others. The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. My mind reels, struggling to process what I've just heard. More? Others? What does he even mean? I blink up at him, my mouth dry, my thoughts a tangled mess. I'd been ready for anger, for disgust, for the end of everything we'd built over the last decade. But this is something else entirely. His tone isn't accusatory, not laced with the hurt I'd expected. It's calm, almost eerily so, and there's an edge to it, a quiet eagerness that makes my stomach churn in a way I can't define. And then I see it. A smile, small and unfamiliar, curling at the corners of his lips. It's not the warm, reassuring smile I've known for years. It's something foreign, something that doesn't belong on the face of the man I married. I'm caught in a whirlwind of confusion, my eyes searching his for any trace of the Thomas I thought I knew. I look for the steady, predictable man who'd sit across from me at breakfast, scrolling through his news app with a furrowed brow. I look for the man who'd leave sticky notes on the fridge with reminders about bills or errands, but I don't find him. Instead, there's a shadow in his gaze, something darker, something I can't name, and it sends a cold tremor through me. Who is this person standing in front of me? What has he seen, or known, or planned that I've been blind to all this time? My mind races back to the phone in his hand, the glowing screen, the possibility of a recording. Did he watch everything and decide not to confront me with rage, but with this strange, unsettling invitation? And then, to my own shock, I feel my lips curve upward. I'm smiling back at him. It's not out of relief, not out of some desperate attempt to smooth things over. No, it's something else. A twisted, unfamiliar excitement that mirrors the glint in his eyes. I don't even recognize myself in this moment. What am I doing? Why am I not running, not apologizing, not begging for forgiveness? Instead, I'm standing here, locked in this bizarre, silent agreement, feeling a rush I can't explain. It's like a current pulling me under, and I'm not fighting it. I'm letting it drag me wherever it wants to go. The moment stretches between us, taut and heavy, like a thread about to snap. The hall is silent now, save for the distant drip of paint from a forgotten brush somewhere in the shadows, a rhythmic sound that seems to mark the passing of time in this surreal space. We're just two strangers, bound by a secret neither of us fully understands, standing in the aftermath of a moment that's changed everything. I don't know how long we stand there, locked in that charged silence, but eventually Thomas steps back, his eyes still holding mine with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. He gestures toward the exit of the hall with a slight tilt of his head, a wordless invitation to leave this place behind us, at least for now. I nod, my throat tight, and we start walking side by side, our footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The air between us feels electric, buzzing with unspoken questions and possibilities I can't even begin to unravel. Every so often, I steal a glance at him, trying to read his expression, but his face remains a mask, revealing nothing. The weight of what just happened, of what he said, hangs over us like a storm cloud, heavy and inevitable. But I don't dare break the silence. Not yet. We step outside into the cool evening air, the sharp bite of it hitting my face like a wake-up call. The sky is a bruised shade of purple, the last streaks of daylight fading fast as we make our way to the car. I can still smell the lingering scent of dust and paint on my clothes, a reminder of the chaos I left behind in that hall. Thomas unlocks the car with a soft click, and we slide into our respective seats, the doors shutting with a dull thud that feels final, like sealing a chapter I'm not ready to close. I buckle my seatbelt, the familiar motion grounding me for a fleeting second, but as he starts the engine, the low rumble vibrating through the seats, that sense of grounding slips away. The silence in the car is heavier than ever, thicker than the air in the hall, but it's not hostile. It's something else, something shared, like we're conspirators in a plot neither of us fully understands. I stare out the window, watching the city lights blur past, streaks of neon and amber against the darkening night, and I feel the weight of his presence beside me, a silent force that keeps pulling my thoughts back to him. I don't know what more means. I don't know who these others are that he mentioned in that low, deliberate whisper. My mind spins with possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. But I'm not afraid. That's the strangest part. I should be terrified. Of him, of myself, of the unknown we're hurtling toward. But I'm not. Instead, there's a strange sense of liberation blooming inside me, like a weight I've carried for years has finally lifted. That quiet emptiness, the one that's haunted me through every mundane morning and every hollow conversation, it's gone. Replaced by something else, something louder, a roar I can't ignore even if I wanted to. It's as if I've been asleep for a decade, drifting through my life on autopilot, and now, for better or worse, I'm awake. Painfully, vividly awake. I think about what happened with Dean and the others back there in that shadowy corner of the hall. The memory of it still burns under my skin, a mix of guilt and exhilaration that I can't shake. I don't regret it. I know I should, know that the old Rachel, the one who clung to routine and buried her discontent, would be drowning in shame right now. But I'm not her anymore, or at least, I'm not just her. There's a part of me that's been unleashed, a part I didn't even know existed until today, and I can't stuff it back into the box it came from. And Thomas, his reaction, that cryptic promise, it's only deepened my curiosity. Where does this lead? What does he want from me, from us, from whatever this twisted new dynamic is? I don't have answers, but for the first time in years, I'm not running from the questions. I'm chasing them. The drive stretches on, the hum of the engine and the occasional click of the turn signal the only sounds breaking the silence. I can feel the tension in my shoulders, the way my hands fidget restlessly in my lap, twisting the edge of my jacket. I glance at Thomas again, his profile sharp and resolute as he finally turns to me with a soft smile, breaking the silence with a promise that everything will be okay. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.